The DPOY problem for Fred Warner, by the way, and then we'll go back to the phones. The DPOY problem is that if you look at who wins this award, you sort of said it's who fills up the stat sheet, but even more so, it's almost always who gets the most sacks. Like if you do look at the last decade, it is almost always pass rushers, even when they're listed as a linebacker, as TJ Watt is. Let's be honest, he's a pass rusher. He's an edge rusher. So listed as a linebacker, but so's Randy Gregory. Like, that's not the way that they play. If you go all the way back the last decade to 2013, only 2 players have won this who are anything other than either edge rushers or interior tackles like Aaron Donald, who's won it twice. Luke Kuechly for the Panthers back in 2013, who plays a more traditional Fred Warner-type linebacker role, but he's the last one to win the award out of that spot. The only non-defensive line pass rusher who's won it since then, Stephon Gilmore, Patriots cornerback back in 2019. It's very difficult to do it out of that middle linebacker position.
Yes, and when Gilmore did it, he led the league in pass defense, and he also had 6 interceptions.
Right.
So, I mean, he had the kind of year. It was not a remarkably special year, but it was a good year. Yeah, he had 6 picks, which led the league, 20 passes defensed, which also led the league for a Patriots defense that was very good.
I mean, Kuechly in 2013, maybe Urlacher in 2005 are quite frankly the only times, maybe Derek Brooks back in 2002, Ray Lewis won it in 2003, but you got to go way back to when traditional linebackers were winning it. James Harrison won it, but he was a pass rusher. Terrell Suggs won it. He was a pass rusher. So it's just very hard to do, and I think what you're pointing to is why. It's hard to amass the stats that pop off of the sheet out of that position.
Right, and the year that Kuechly won it was after his Rookie of the Year performance, and then he led the league in tackles 2 of his first 3 years. Mm-hmm. Ironically, the year that he didn't lead the league was that year that he won DPOY.
Interesting.
And Fred Warner right now is 22nd in the league in combined tackles, solo plus assisted. So he's behind Zaire Franklin by 28 tackles. Is he a better player than Zaire Franklin? Absolutely.
No doubt.
But part of the problem with him racking up stats is his defensive line is really good. So a lot of the ball carriers don't get to him. Luke Kuechly had that many tackles because he had to, because his D-line wasn't always getting it done for him. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, a lot of these plays, they don't even get a crack at getting the tackle because Hargrave and Armstead and Bosa and the fellows have already cleaned it up.
Well, the Warriors learned this for years. It's really hard to win awards when you're on a stacked team because people just look at it and go, oh, my gosh, you're next to Greenlaw and you're behind Nick Bosa and Hargrave and all this. Like, that's not DPOY. You're just part of an unbelievable unit. In many ways, it's the same thing that Brock Purdy's been suffering from on the offensive end. And we should start a new segment, the "Oh my God, he said what about Brock Purdy" comment of the day. And we have ours today. We'll give it to you in just a little bit. But let's get back to the phones. Janice in the city with Willard and Dibs. Hi, Janice. What's up?
Hey, how's it going? I'm catching you guys in between kid pickups here. So.
Oh, Janice, good luck with all of that.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about earlier when you were saying, it's all the 80s feel yesterday with the game. I 100% agree with you. I didn't have to hold my breath through any of it. It was just like dominating across the board. And then we went through, you look back at it and we've gone through a few decades of, like really awesome red zone defense. And then just we're not so sure about the offense, going through Jimmy Garoppolo's interceptions here and there. It's, we went through like kind of what's equivalent to Giants torture years with the Niners. But yesterday, it's all about the 80s feel right now. Go Niners. Way to beat the Cowboys.
Janice,
thanks,
good luck.
Janice.
Good luck getting to each one of your children on time and safely. Thank you very much for the call. Yeah, I don't even know necessarily how to describe it. Sure, I think it's the best 49er football stretch I've seen in 30 years, but it's just, it feels a little bit more like not just a football team, but a show. Like everybody, okay, gather around. here comes the 49er. And right now I'm a little bit more impressed, if you will, by the offense than the defense, maybe because I already knew the defense has been really, really good. The offense is a little bit more unexpected, but their efficiency, their operating level right now is so high. It's just like you can't miss a moment.
Yeah.
I refuse to miss a moment, and soon as the ball comes out of Brock Purdy's hands, your confidence level that it's going to land in a 49er chest is so high.
Just the thought of a Jimmy Ono throw, as we always like to talk about. You just don't have those anymore. And
stand by 20 minutes. We get to see some more.
I can't wait. We're going to have double game action up here on the big screen. It's always fun to get some stuff going on. You mentioned the 80s feel, and I just was looking back at the 80s teams to kind of put some context here to what you're talking about. 1984, they win the Super Bowl for the second time, and they were ranked number 2 in points offensively, number 2 in yards. They were ranked number 1 defensively in points and 10th in yards. So ranked number 1 in defense and 2 in offense. 1989, they win their 4th Super Bowl, and they rank number 1 in points and yards on offense, number 3 on defense and points, and 4 in yards. So that's kind of where this team is in terms of the headiness. That 89 team, they went 14-2. They won the Super Bowl. Montana, Craig, Rice, all the fellas. And this team, they're not quite ranked number 1 in offense just yet. That would be Miami in points. They're ranked number 2 in points, 3 in yards. Defensively, they're ranked number 1 in points and 3 in yards. So just from a ranking standpoint, this team is doing what those 80s Niners teams did.
Totally balanced. It's totally balanced.
Nasty on defense and incredibly efficient on offense.
I don't know if you are a coordinator preparing for this team, what exactly is it that you're doing? You know what I mean? Like, go back to that comment we heard from Dak Prescott. And I would have loved to have had an opportunity like the broadcasters of the game do, where they get to have like a private meeting with the coach and a private meeting with the quarterback. I'd love to know what he meant by this. Take a listen.
Didn't see it coming. As you said, put everything into this and got punched in the mouth. Called a couple of weeks ago, humbling against Arizona, but this may be the most humbling game I've ever been a part of. Felt good about the preparation, felt good about everything, honestly, coming into this game, matchups, and they beat us in every aspect.
Hold up. You felt good about the matchups? Excuse me?
Of course.
What matchups? What matchups did you feel good about?
CeeDee Lamb against Isaiah Oliver.
Okay.
Your offensive line, which was intact for the first time, Mark, in all 5 games. You had all your projected 5 starters on the line,
right,
ready to go.
Against this 49er D-line, you're going to tell me that that's a matchup you feel good about? I'd have been terrified if I were a quarterback.
You said it earlier. These alpha males, they don't think in terms of terrified or worried or I don't like our chances. So he looks at his offensive line intact for the first time all year and thinks, all right, let's go. Here we go. I got my 5 guys. I'm sure he felt good about that matchup. And that D-line against the Niners offensive line, which has been, by the way, very good this year, I'm sure he felt good about what his defense has done this year.
Oh, man, I just think the 49ers defense is going to make every offense they face one-dimensional. And that's a really tough place to be because you can't run the ball. So did you feel good about the matchup of Tony Pollard running the ball against this 49er front? And these linebackers, Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw, and their closing speed to the sideline, you felt good about that? Because if Tony Pollard doesn't get loose, Dak, I'm sorry, you're up a creek. This is the Niners get the lead and then don't let you run. Think of that combo. They immediately turn you into a passing team for 2 reasons. A, you're behind, and B, you can't run. Once you're one-dimensional, you're done. And Nick Bosa's chasing you. Like, this is such a wonderful formula. And so it's no surprise that the 49ers are just crushing teams because it makes you it turns you into something where you can't succeed. You cannot be good one-dimensional. That any defense will crush you.
Unless your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. And Kansas City has been able to.
Well, but
Kansas City beat you the last 2 times you played them, and now the Super Bowl, it took them some time to finally crack you because Kansas City was pretty one-dimensional in that Super Bowl.
That was a different team. I mean, we're getting to a point now. That's 4 years ago.
I'll allow that.
Totally different quarterback. You're trying to beat them 20-10.
Right.
This team, maybe that's the best thing about what we're watching right now. Don't you feel like if they end up in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs and the Chiefs score 30, fine.
Yeah.
Niners will score 35.
And that is a Brock Purdy thing because, Jimmy Garoppolo, it felt like you had to win 24-20.
Yep.
And it feels like Brock Purdy could beat Kansas City 45-42 or Miami 73-70. You know what I mean? If it came to that.
I mean, that's the other thing, though. I don't have that much faith in those teams to even score that much against this defense. But if something does happen, if it does get into a little bit of a shootout, man, you feel like that's okay. Niners can do that. You can get into a shootout. The first half against the Rams felt like a shootout, and you walked out of there 17-17. Okay, let's play another half. Dial up the blitz, and boom. Rams never visited the end zone again. I mean, that's the formula, man, and it is going to be really hard to beat. Really hard to beat.
Especially with this defense playing as strong as it is. I think it's harder for me to imagine a team getting 30 on this defense than it is the offense being held under 14. And I think both are somewhat of long shots, but I can't see a team going through this defense to the tune of, like Miami, for example. What a matchup that would be with that track team against this physical group. And, McDaniel against Shanahan and the speed of that offense against the grit of this defense. That would be one I would love to see in February.